All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. It is Wednesday, March 1st of 2023. So you know what that means. March Madness coming at you guys. Should be a fun month with baseball also starting at the end of the month here. So a kind of a sport shift month as you might have it. But just looking to the immediate future, we got a 9-game NBA slate as well as a 6-game hockey slate. It is Wednesday, so today is the day to be building your golf lineups for the Arnold Palmer Invitational, I believe. We got teeing off tomorrow, so it should be a fun week. Good luck to all of you golf DFSers out there. If you guys have questions related to golf DFS, you guys can ask any sport, any question about any sport, really. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions that come in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord, there's a link in the description below to get joined up. And aside from that, if you're just tuning in, have questions, go ahead and throw them in the YouTube chat. We will get to all the questions in both the live YouTube chat and the Discord. But that being said, I'm going to get SaberSim pulled up here. I do have a couple of things to cover from yesterday. I had 2 questions come in yesterday. One from, let's see who this first one was from Brian, I believe, referencing how to use SaberSim or how to leverage the Sims, how to use SaberSim to help you with your underdog drafts. For those of you, playing over on Underdog, it's draft format. Question was like best ways to utilize SaberSim to do that. I asked Jordan about this. Jordan is somebody who I know is grinding underdog drafts. We talk about it behind the scenes and stuff. And so I reached out to Jordan and I said, how do you best leverage the Sims and the Sim data for underdogs? And he goes, honestly, the what I would suggest is to just come in here and either, if you have SaberSim up on the screen, you can just draft based on projections, like descending. So your rank for the players would just be their projections. And then just, basically use this as like your ADP for the draft. Or, what you can do is you can hit this download button and it will download a CSV for you. And then from there, you could like take your CSV, have it on one screen, have the draft on the other screen if you're more comfortable using just like a CSV format. But he told me, he said, I think literally drafting against SaberSim projections is positive EV for underdog drafts. Those were Jordan's exact words. So I wanted to get back to Brian on that one. And then another question we had yesterday was in relation to tennis. So I talked to Jordan about this and kind of figured out, where the root of this question was. So Chase asked a question yesterday. He said in the How to Beat Tennis video, Jordan says to adjust sliders as slate size changes, but aren't the sliders already being changed based on slate size? So good question here. So for tennis specifically, the sliders are not being adjusted based on slate size. You can see up here at the top, might be hard for you guys to see up here, but up at the top here, it just says, the time, and then it says early, main, or late. If you go over to like NBA, we have the slate size up here. It'll say like 7 p.m., 9 games. But for tennis, it does not do that. So basically what Jordan is saying is like, regardless of whether there are 6 matches on the slate versus 24 matches on the slate, SaberSim is not taking that into account with the sliders. What SaberSim is doing is only looking at the style, the entry limit, and the entrance. So you could have a single entry 100 to 1,000 person contest that is 24 matches, and it would have these 109 sliders. And then you could also have a single entry 100 to 1,000 entry contest where the slate size is maybe 6 matches and the sliders would be the same. So that is what Jordan is saying is like, hey, if the slate size is smaller, there's more chances for lineup duplication and different things like that. you might want to get away from the field a little bit. And if in that scenario, it might make sense to increase your ownership fade. So I talked to him a little bit about it. Definitely started to make more sense to me once I got with him, because I wasn't familiar with the How to Beat Tennis video too much, but it does make a lot of sense to me, right? More matches on the slate, more what do you call somebody who plays tennis? Just a tennis player. More tennis players on the slate, so less chances to be duplicated. More players in your player pool. But on like a 6-match slate, where I don't even know if they have 6-match slates, but just going to be less overall options, and it makes some sense to get away from the field by utilizing the ownership fade slider in that scenario. But wanted to get back to Chase as well. And, anytime you guys have a question I don't know the answer to, I'm going to go find you guys a good answer and get back to you guys on the very next show. So if there's any follow-up in regards to those questions, just let me know. But we are going to keep it rolling here. So first question came in the Discord. Looks like we have one question in the Discord, one in the YouTube chat. If anybody has any questions, now is a great time to get those in. And this one from the Duke says, is there a way to mass set min exposures? Also, is it possible to use a ranking system for golfers / players instead of using projections? Okay, good question here. So no, there is not a good way of mass setting min exposure. Let's go over to golf, because this looks like a golf question. So we got the Arnold Palmer Invitational teeing off tomorrow. So you can use this max exposure here, but which this is a global max exposure. Frankly, global min exposure might break the builder, especially if you set a global min exposure of something like, let's say you're building 20 lineups and you set 5%. It might be really hard for the builder to get, one lineup with every single player in it, depending on how many players there are. So I think there's 160 golfers usually. So if you're building a 3-max, you might break the builder and not be able to make any builds. So I think that is why we don't offer a global min exposure. But what I would imagine you would have to have a really tight player pool to be interested in something like that. So because unless you're trying to get one of 160 golfers, you got to be playing a lot of lineups to be interested in doing that. But long story short, no, you can't do that. The easiest way to do it would just to be coming here to the min exposures and then just click down and run through this. But really doesn't take that long. I realize it could be a little tedious, but I think we just knocked out 15 golfers in 10 seconds here. So shouldn't take too long to just click through and set some min exposures here in the home screen. But I could take that down as a feature request and talk to the team about that for sure. All right, hopping over to the YouTube chat. Got a question from NMJ. Says, hi, Andrew. I've seen references to SaberScore 2.0 in the Discord. Is that some sort of custom metric for pro subscribers? So good question here. So we are... Well, not we. I'll say Matt specifically is looking at SaberScore, looking at how it can be improved, and we are in the early stages of testing that. So that is what it is referring to. So with a SaberSim Pro subscription, you get early access to new features. So we have released SaberSim 2.0 in beta version of it. I know that it's been altered at least twice now. So still dialing it in, still doing back testing on it. But ultimately, there is a change to SaberScore on the horizon. It is going to be, a change for the better. We're trying out different versions of it and doing back testing to figure out where we want to ultimately make those adjustments at. And there will be more information about SaberScore 2.0, but that'll probably come in a behind the Sims video. But for now, we're in the early stages of testing that out. So, you might hear some rumblings about it, but it is not fully ready. And I know that Matt and the team are still back testing and making adjustments to it overall, but looking forward to it ultimately. NMJ said, okay, cool. Is SaberScore going to be updated for everyone or just pro subscribers? No, it'll be updated for everybody. It'll get pushed to the main app, but the pro subscribers do get like the early access to it. And, we do want like feedback from the community about, how your lineups look and different things like that. So some early access to pro. That is another great reason to be on pro. You get some of this early access, but we do like warn people like, hey, this isn't the final version. Give us your feedback. Tell us what you guys think is like wrong or what looks funny, and then we could look into that further. So having that feedback loop is ultimately good for us internally. All right, question here from Chase. In beta, where the ownership fade slider is gone, is this not important anymore? Yeah, so this is probably another thing coming down the line, another thing that we're testing here. We are experimenting with removing the ownership fade slider, and I don't want to get too much into it. It really is, kind of above my head a little bit with some of these changes. More to come on the behind the scenes stuff. But ultimately, what this really comes down to, everybody, is like we are trying to improve the quality of your lineups to help users be more profitable. That's really all it comes down to. This is like not, DFS in general is not something where like, you get to a finish line and you're done, right? It's constantly evolving, we're constantly trying to get better. We're never satisfied. We are always pushing the boundaries and trying to, squeak out every edge we can get. And we, we're in the early stages of figuring out if we want to get rid of the ownership fade slider or if we want to keep it. Some of those decisions are not completely made yet, but we are testing them, right? So the team is like always thinking about different ways to improve the app and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that we are testing. Not sure if that is going to stay or not, but more to come on that. But I appreciate the questions. Happy to give you guys as much insight as I can. NMJ said, thanks. Happy to help there. Brian followed up, said, good afternoon. Hope all is well. Thank you for your help. Yep, Brian, glad you're able to catch that. Happy to get that answer back to you. All right. NSR SoCal said, Chase, if you are a pro sub, you can go to the pro channel in Discord. Matt does a great job explaining it. Yeah, no, Matt is really active and just kind of sharing like his thoughts about, what he thinks and best practices for some of the new features. So if you guys do have questions, you can post it in the pro channel and the team is always around. Another great reason like to be in the Discord because, on this show, you kind of only get access to me. I got to go find somebody and coming back and get you an answer. But if you're in the Discord and you're posting in the channels, you get to interact with the entire team. And as those questions come up and the team sees them, they could jump in and provide a thoughtful answer. All right. Chandra said, you guys are interfering with Builder too much with all the inputs. You have to let the Builder do its thing, create a player pool, I'm assuming, and let the Builder create good lines. The Builder is great. The Builder does 90% of the work for you. I think that the best places for users to add value is really like in the post build, helping the Builder, manage risk. The Builder does not manage risk very well. I was talking to somebody in the Discord about this over the weekend, and we were just talking about how to find a set of lineups and a set of exposures that you're comfortable with, regardless of what happens, right? And a lot of that comes down to risk management here. So, I'm going to build 20 lineups here, and then right off the bat, I'm getting 100% Jared Vanderbilt, 100% Malik Beasley, 95% Rui Hachimura. So 3 players from the Lakers almost in every single lineup. And, that's kind of boomer bust Lakers right there, right? And if I'm not okay with that, I think it's totally okay to dial back my exposure and go a different route. Maybe I'm okay having some Lakers, but not this much. If they don't do good, then all of my lineups are sunk, right? So like that's a risk management thing. The Builder doesn't understand risk management. What the Builder understands is, perceived value, expected value, what the best plays are. The Builder is going to jam in what it what it thinks are the best plays. It is the job of the user in a man plus machine scenario to do the risk management and to tell the builder that, you know what, this risk profile of these lineups is too high for me. I need you to help me lower that risk profile. And the first place I would start is by applying some min unique setting, right? So for me, what I like to do, just like personally, I like to do like at least I mean, I guess it depends, but I like to increase the min uniques to a point where I'm going into the pool a little bit, but not too far, right? So here I'm at like lineup 46 out of 500, still in the top 10%. I'm like totally fine with that. Bump it up to 4, lineup 139. Okay, we're getting like toward 50% here. And then at min uniques 5, I'm at lineup 267. So right about like halfway into my pool. So if I'm somebody who like really likes to get diverse and flat with my exposures, I think this is fine, right? Exposure, my top exposure is 65%. So I went from like 3 guys at 100%. So now my top exposure is 65%. I'm a lot more spread out. Jared Vanderbilt is under 50%. And then Ruby Hachimura and Beasley are around at 65%. So I think that's fine. Still using lineups in like the top 50% of my pool for the most part. Or from somebody like, hey, I want to get diverse, but I'm okay taking some stronger stands. Maybe I stay where at Uniques 4, where my bottom lineup is ranked 139 out of 500, and I'm still like pretty heavy on Hachimura and Beasley, but still lower on Vanderbilt here, right? So there's not a wrong or right way to do this. These are like this is really like the point where you got to kind of make a decision for how you want to approach the slate that day. But ultimately, I think this is the biggest value add for a user. We work really hard on our projections and our models and ownership projections, all of that. Like we just talked about, we're always dialing in the sliders, figuring out if there's a better way to handle some of those inputs for the builder and help you guys ultimately get to better lineups. So team is hard at work for sure. All right. Franklin said, as a pro subscriber, how do you get access to the beta version? Franklin, I would just drop a message in the pro channel. If you're in the Discord, just drop a message in the pro channel and somebody will be happy to help you out with that. And then NSR SoCal says that there is a link in the pro channel. Okay, awesome. Yep. So NSR SoCal, thank you. Yeah, that's what I imagined. Might be like pinned at the top of the channel. If you go up to like the top, there's like a little bulletin board pin, a thumbtack, I believe. And you can just click the thumbtack and then it might be under there, or you can just ask. I'm sure somebody will be able to help you out. But good questions, everybody, to get the show started. Really, I'm really excited about all the changes happening. And it's incremental improvements just over and over, and a lot of incremental improvements will lead to just an overall better experience and one big huge improvement. I think that goes for like anything in life, right? You guys are exercising like every single day. You do it, and then you look back over like 1-2 years, it's like, wow, I made like a big change. So don't forget that. I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but I think that is just a good life thing in general. All right. That is our last question in the YouTube chat and the Discord. I'm going to pull up the NBA injury report for today while we wait for more questions to come in here. But if anybody has any more questions, we will get back to it right after we check out the NBA injury report. Is a fun day today. I know they're running their big high stakes and Millie Maker today. I do have one ticket to that. So hoping to, make a run at that. So it should be a fun day overall. But looking ahead here, not a lot of news at lock here. A couple doubtfuls, couple probables, a ton of questionables in this later half of the slate. This is going to be a fun slate. So, late swap is going to be super important. Imagine, Giannis gets ruled out, after lock here. We got Kevin Porter might make his return. Jason Tate was out yesterday. Jonas Valanciunas would be a huge sit, especially with Larry Nance is out as well. So, I don't even know who would play center for the Pelicans if they're both out. Guillermo Hernangomez at 3,800 in the last game of the night could be like a huge value play there. So that'll be really interesting. So should be pretty interesting what happens with Jonas Valanciunas. That'll be a big slot. And then as well as if Kevin Porter returns, Jalen Green is sitting. He did play yesterday and then is now sitting today. I know Tari Eason had a big night last night. So, I mean, if Porter sits, if Tate sits, and Jalen Green sits, we could see a big value play over here on Houston. I know Daishen Nix started yesterday. I think he did okay. I don't think he did like anything phenomenal, but I don't think he did bad, and he did ultimately end up starting yesterday. So I would have to go back and look at the popcorn machine, but I think there's probably some late swap opportunity on Houston if you're able to like plan for that and kind of have a game plan going into lock if Porter's ruled out, if Tate's ruled out, and then Green already being doubtful. Could be some value there. Could definitely be value on Milwaukee if Giannis sits, and then Chris Middleton's already out. Bobby Portis could not play either, so it could be a big value spot here. So like I think this 7 p.m. Central window is what I'm really keeping my eyes on today, as well as Jonas Valanciunas. So a lot of late swap potential. Oh, I even missed Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid is even questionable here too. So I'm really keeping my eyes on this latter half of the slate here. So it should be a good one. Really looking forward to it. But hope I give you guys some ideas about what to look at as the day goes on and what to keep your eyes on. But that being said, gonna get SaberSim pulled back up here and address some of these questions coming in here. All right, gonna start with this one in the Discord from Luke Stiesel. Question is, if I set max or min exposures for lots of players, how do I get SaberSim to carry those exposures over to late swap? Okay, so another really good question here. So the late swap builder, does work differently than pre-build. We've done our best to make it as close to pre-build as possible, but just ultimately the like base functionality of it is different. So once the slate starts and once we go into lock, what happens is that your lineups for contests basically get like locked in. And then what we're going to do is we are going to look at your entries file and determine how many unique lineups you have. If you entered 5 single entries, but you only entered one lineup into all 5 contests, then we are only going to rebuild one lineup. And then we're going to do it, however many times your pool is set to. So we could have one lineup. We could have, one unique lineup. We could rebuild it 500 times, right? We might not get to 500. There might not be, 500 options for that lineup, but we're going to rebuild it as many times as we can there. That is what the late swap builder is doing. It is building versions of an original lineup that it sees in your entries file. So if you have a lineup where, let's say, this 4 p.m. lock hits, you have a lineup that has Devin Booker and Chris Paul in it, right? We are going to build, 100 different versions of a lineup with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. And it is not like a completely new lineup. The lineups have salary restrictions, positional restrictions, etc. Right? So the late swap builder, does have more challenges than pre-build. I guess is like what I'm trying to get at here. So it can be harder for the builder to meet min and max exposures post slate lock in the late swap phase. So I would be a little flexible with your min and max exposures. I would give it, plus or minus like 5 to 10% in either direction, just because of some of these restrictions. And then if you're ultimately having issues meeting it, I would try and focus on your biggest value adds. If you have, 20 min and max exposures and you're having issues meeting it, figure out like the top 15 that matter to you, your biggest, value adds, maybe your top 10, right? And kind of start wide and kind of work in until the builder can meet those things. That being said, that is another thing that we are working on. I know that I've discussed it with the team behind the scenes. We are trying to improve the way the builder handles min and max exposures and make it easier for the builder to meet requests from users. So hopefully some more information to come on that front and make your life a little easier there, Luke. But in the meantime, that is how I would try and think about it. That is how I would try and use it for the time being. Luke, it looks like you're on It looks like you're on the pro plan. So I know that that is one of the features Matt is testing on the beta version. So I would like explicitly build on beta in your specific scenario and see if beta is any better at meeting your min and max exposures. And if it's not, give us some feedback as to like what you're doing, and we'll create a dialogue there. But that would ultimately help us because that is something that we are trying to fix as well. We know it's like a bad user experience where you put in min and max exposures and you can't get to them. So another thing that we are trying to solve. Man, I feel like you guys are pointing out all of these things we're doing. It's just making me think about like, wow, we really are doing a lot behind the scenes, and I really hope all of this comes to fruition soon. I know the late swap pools was huge, but we're just gonna continue to innovate and try and make everything work better for you guys. All right, NMJ said, I've noticed some users mention they run 009 sliders. Obviously, this is probably more geared towards Showdown or MMA. Is there any benefit to running Sim Variance 9 instead of 10? Okay, great question here, NMJ. So, yes. Okay, let's pull up the sliders here. So, I'm just going to put 000 to start. So, the two biggest slider changes that you can make in the app are going from 0 to 1 and then from 9 to 10. Those are the biggest adjustments you can make. And what is happening is when you're at sim diversity 0, you are using the mean projection for every player. So, we are taking this value you see in the my projection column, which is the average score the player scored over our entire set of sims, and then we are building your lineups based on that. That is what is happening at sim diversity 0. When you go to 1, we are moving away from our entire database and we are starting to subset sims. We are going to randomly sample a group of sims, and then we are going to use the score the player scores in that set, and then that'll be the player's projection that the builder uses to analyze and build your lineups ultimately. So that is what happens from 0 to 1. So it's no subsetting to subsetting. And then from 9, we go from subsetting to 10, which is using single game simulation. So at 9, we are taking a group of sims still and then building our lineups based on how the players score in that group. But at 10, we are simming each game one time. We are simming every game on the slate, and then we are building your lineup based on, the optimal construction for that set there. So that is why those are like the biggest differences between the two. Personally, I only like using Sim Diversity 10 for showdowns, for sports where you need an optimal, like MMA, and 2-game slates. Those are where I think Sim Diversity 10 is most effective. The reason I do not like using Sim Diversity 10 for big classic slates like this 9-game is because you probably don't need an optimal to win. There are millions of possible lineups on any given NBA night. You're probably not going to find the optimal. You just need to beat the other lineups in your contest. You don't need to find the highest scoring lineup possible, right? So this concept was introduced to me like earlier in my DFS journey. It was like, if second place is 350 points, it does and it does not matter if you score 351 or 361. Those extra 10 points don't win you any extra money. They're just like extra, and you don't need it, right? You just need to beat the other lineups in your contest. So that is why we talk about you're not trying to find the optimal in a big 9-game NBA slate. You're just trying to beat the other lineups in your contest. So that is why I don't like Sim Diversity 10. And then at Sim Diversity 10, what could happen is like some second, third guy off the bench can have a really high performance and then find his way into your lineups. And while they might be a good play, under certain circumstances, there's probably a lot of other good plays that are not so high risk that you could get to on a night like this. You probably won't need them to win, is kind of the point. So when you are building on Sim Diversity 9, what has to happen is that same player has to do good more than once, because we are taking a subset of sims. We are taking a group of sims. They can't just have one good performance and then, a bunch of other bad performances and find their way into your lineup still. So they're going to have to perform well multiple times to still get into your lineup. So that is why we suggest using Sim Diversity 9 for like big classic slates. But that is the big difference there. So let me know if you have any questions about that. But that is kind of what is going on. And then just reading some feedback here. NSR Local said, I run 009 for every slate and use Jordan's custom formula for ownership. This has been working out very well. NMJ said, thanks again. Very helpful. NMJ said, I still like 0010 for Showdown and MMA, but 009 certainly seems viable. Yeah, no, I think 0010 for Showdown and MMA is great. Okay, really good question there. Going to hit this next one from 2G2 Great. Said, all of my projections for each NBA lineup is showing 250 for every lineup. It did this yesterday, so what do I have to do for it to show accurate projections for each lineup? Okay, let's just test this out, right? So I got this NBA build that I ran yesterday, and my projected score is 291.8. So my projection scores are different. What I would suggest as like a troubleshooting step is two things. First off is do a Control-Shift-R. This is going to reset the app and clear the cache and just give you like a fresh app to work with here. And then that can sometimes clear up any issues. Or secondly, what you can do is you could change your sorting method, just like switch it to salary and then switch it back to projected score if that's where you're using. And then that will also give the builder an opportunity to reanalyze all the lineups to make sure they are all in the correct rank order. But frankly, I'm not sure why that's happening. If you try the troubleshooting steps that I just outlined, run another build and the same thing is still happening, what I would do is I would go up to the settings and I would go to report a problem. And then I would just type us a brief description of what is happening. And then the support team will be able to look into that and get back to you with a good, thoughtful response and figure out what the root of the problem is. So those are the steps that I would take. All right. Brian said, Eve's a message that states that SaberSim doesn't provide projections for college basketball. It stays first upload or set custom projections. Where would I find college basketball projections to upload? So that's a good question. I actually don't know. So what you're referring to is like the college basketball slates up in the app. So we do have the slates up here in the app. We have all the player data and player information. You can build your lineups using SaberSim and then, use our entry editor and then upload those to DraftKings. But we do not have sims. We do not have projections. So you will have to find an outside source that provides projections. I can't think of one. It's possible RunPure does. RunPure is one of our partners, and they might have college projections or college basketball projections. So I would check with them, and then you can come in here and then use the upload button and upload a CSV. But, I know RunPure does projections for a lot of sports. It's possible that they have a set. All right. Good question there. 2G2 Gray said, thanks, my guy, because I use the app off my phone. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I will say that, on mobile, it can be like a little hard to tell what some of the summary statistics are for the lineups. Like on mobile, there isn't enough space to put like rank or salary, all of these like descriptive terms. Sometimes you'll just see like the white values of like the salary or the projected score. There is like a hover tooltip. So if you just like click on the number, you should get like a little pop-up that says like salary or projected score or SaberScore or something like that. So, it does, you have to interact with like the screen or the app and like click to get those tooltips to pop up. But that is how like you see like, okay, what exactly am I clicking on? Is this, is this the 95th percentile or is this the projected score? Right. So I know a lot of times questions like that will come up like, hey, it's saying that my actual score for yesterday's slate was 330, but that's not right. But sometimes people like be looking at percentile and it gets a little confusing. So you do have to interact with the app to get all of those things to show properly what descriptive stat they are. But all right, everybody, really good show. Appreciate everybody tuning in and asking questions. We'll be right back tomorrow for our Thursday show. And until then, if you guys are building lineups throughout the day, you guys, question pops in your head, throw it in the Office Hours channel, let it sit there until tomorrow. And then I will get back to that question first thing tomorrow. So until Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, I will see you guys. Good luck in all your contests and take care.